Okay, in this help video, we're going to talk through writing to Hazard Scout using the API and some other ways of writing to Hazard Scout. So if you're interested in reading data out of Hazard Scout into your system, you would want to check out a different video, which is the API reading video. So this one's about writing from your system into Hazard Scout. So I'm going to bounce over to the demo site here. And for starters, I'm just going to go into the control panel and the data load page. So this is the page where you can manually upload spreadsheets of data into Hazard Scout and manipulate the site that way. So we've got kind of a help section here that actually shows you, what types of data can you load in, and if you're loading employee profiles, then what are the columns expected in that spreadsheet? How does the data need to be formatted? What's required? What's not? And so on. And then we have an example of that spreadsheet that you can just view right here, or you could click to download that as well. So once you've kind of downloaded that template, put in your data, kind of have it ready to go, then you can go back to the new data load page. You can attach that CSV file, and then you can hit submit, and then it'll actually go through, validate that everything looks correct within your file, and then it'll actually upload it and apply the changes if you want to after you validated it. So that's kind of a manual process. Someone logs into the website, they upload a file, they kind of watch it through the process. But there are ways to automate that using the API and through the SFTP. So if you are interested in setting up an SFTP drop where you would submit a file periodically and then our system would automatically see it and move it into the system, then contact us at support@hazardscout.com, and we will be able to set up one of those SFTP drops for you. We'd get it loaded in, we kind of make sure everything looks correct, and then we'll automatically run it as often as you're wanting to load it in there. If you can also do it through our API, and that's what I'm going to talk through here on this video. So to load this type of, or any type of data through our API, you'd want to start out by going to the control panel, and then within roles and permissions, if I scroll down to the control panel section, you can see that I have the ability to manage the API. So that's what gives me permission to manage the tokens that give write permissions to the API. So then I'll go back to the control panel, click on API, and you can see I've got a token set up, but it's only read-only. So I would need to create another token, which I'll do right here. And then I'm going to make it writable. And so now this token can actually has write permissions within the system. And then we'll call it the IT group, and then it's writable. And so that's just an ability to kind of create a little note so you can keep track of how that token's being used if you're ever thinking about deactivating it in the future. So then above there's this view docs. So this is the documentation for the full API. You can view the API reading video for kind of information on how to make a request and that type of thing, but I'm going to skip that here. And I'm going to scroll down to the data load create endpoint. And so there's a create and there's an info endpoint. So whenever you create a data load, you're going to make an HTTP request, authenticated. It's going to start a data load process, and then the system's going to respond back before that data load is finished running or validating. And it's just going to say, yes, it started, or no, it didn't start. It's not going to give you the end result, because these data loads often take minutes, where a request would time out after maybe 30 seconds or so. So after you create a data load through the API, you get an ID back from it, and then you're able to pull its status through the dataload.info request. So we can go ahead and go through and kind of make one of these requests right here. We'll go to the data load create, and we can see that the required parameters are obviously our API token, and then the URL to the CSV file that is your data load file. So we don't actually upload the raw CSV data, text data through the API. You don't push that because in many cases these may be megabytes or many megabytes, in size. And so it's better for you to put that data somewhere, maybe sign it with a token for a short window, and then give us the signed URL so that we can access it in a secure manner and then pull it down as needed. So I'm going to go ahead and try to make one of these requests using curl, just so you can kind of see what that would look like. So I will, let's see, we'll go to, I'm going to copy this curl into a place where I can kind of edit it a little bit. And we need to put in our token, and then we need to put in the URL. So our token is going to come from here. So I will copy and paste that. And then the URL that we're going to use, I've got something set up already. Let's see. Oh, where did I put that? Here we go. All right, so I got a data load file here in Dropbox, and so I will put this URL right here. And so now that's the URL to my CSV file. If I went to it, then you can see that CSV will open, and it looks like this. So let's go back here, and then this is kind of hard to see, so I'm going to bounce back to the website. The other parameters that you have available are an adapter. So if you have a custom format that you can't really change, then we could possibly set up an adapter for you that will convert your format to our format, maybe cleaning up column names and that type of thing. In most cases, you won't have this parameter, and so you can just leave it out. And then we also have an ability for you to subscribe to failures or successes. So you can list 0 or more email addresses to send to if it fails, and then it'll send the error message to these addresses. And if it succeeds, it'll send the success message to these, so you can kind of monitor it as it goes. And then if you want, you can also include a file name where you can kind of have an easy way to see what data load file whenever you're viewing the history there as well. So I'm going to bounce back to our curl script here, and we're gonna I'm going to remove most of these parameters if I can get this right. So basically, we just have the token and the URL right here. So I'm going to go to my my profile, and you can see within my employee profile, I have favorite number set to 1 right here. So we can change this to 2, and I'm saving that. It's going to get uploaded to Dropbox automatically. And then so now I'm going to take this script, and I'm going to, it's ready to run, and I'm going to run it. And so now it responded back that it was okay, and the data load ID is this right here. And so that data load will automatically be run now. And this is the ID that I can refer to it. So we could probably go ahead and refresh my profile, and you can see, yep, that data load ran successfully because my favorite number was changed to 2 right here. But the other way you could monitor it would be through the dataload.info request. And I'm going to do a curl of this here. Oops. And let's see. Got to get my API token again. Oops. And then I'll get that same token. And then here's the token. And then we're probably going to need to submit a data load ID as well. Yep. So there's an ID. Oops. Oh, there it was. So here's the data load ID that we had. And so now we're requesting with our token and this data load ID, and we're wanting to get the status for this. So I will paste that in. And then now you can see that it was successful because the status is data loaded. And you can kind of see a revision history. It found 1 record, 1 employee was updated, the total number of changes, and so on right there. And so that's how you can kind of see the status. You can see that it was a successful data load. And then, yeah, so if you want to automate your data load process, you can do it through the API right here. We're also happy to set up an SFTP drop for you as well. Whichever is easiest is great with us. And contact us at support@hazardscout.com if you have any questions or need help.